Let's take a look at this week's vocabulary. They're from Down a Dark Hall. They're from the first two chapters. The first word is intercede. It's a verb. It means to try to settle an argument or dispute between two people or groups. From the text it says, Kit had clung to one last hope that her mother might intercede for her, but that had faded today with each passing mile. Can you think of a time when a teacher might have to intercede? Maybe it could be if two people have an argument in the hallway, a teacher might have to intercede between them. Have you ever had to intercede between two people? Have you had to try to stop an argument between them? That would be you interceding. Inevitable. It's an adjective and it means sure to happen. There could be no turning back at this point. It was time to face the inevitable. That's actually used as a noun here, but it can be used as an adjective also. So if you're facing the inevitable, it's the thing that's sure to happen. For example, inevitably, you will grow up, or it is inevitable that you will grow up. Can you name other things that are inevitable, that are sure to happen? I think maybe starting school tomorrow will be inevitable. Imposing. Impressive in size, dignity, or magnificence. She had seemed an imposing figure then, and now, against the setting of Blackwood, she was even more so. I would think if you could picture imposing, think of like the Hulk. He's definitely imposing. But there are just some teachers that have an imposing presence, and it's not always that they have to be so big. It could be this idea of how they carry themselves or they seem really great. They can be imposing. Imposing kind of means, it has a connotation where it kind of means that you might be intimidated by that person. Let's look at number 4, summons. Here it's used as a noun. It's a call or signal to come. She addressed an aside to the little gray woman who had appeared silently in the doorway as though in response to a silent summons. It just means to call someone. When they come over the loudspeaker and ask somebody to come down to the office, that would be a summons. Number 5, companionable. That means friendly. It's an adjective. Maybe, as Dan had suggested, there would be someone among the new arrivals who would be the same kind of friend as Tracy, close and companionable and always ready to share a good time. So anybody who could be thought of as friendly would also be companionable. Number 6, tentatively. This means it's an adverb and it means hesitantly. Here's a clue that it would be an adverb. It ends no Y, right? Hesitantly, in an unsure manner or way. Tentatively, she reached out and let her hand caress the bedspread. Sometimes I say to you, our test is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, and then I end up moving it to, let's say, a Thursday. Tentatively means you're just not sure yet if that's going to be when it happens. It also can mean that you're unsure of what you're doing, so you're tentative about it. Okay, let's take a look at our Greek and Latin roots. So we have sub, which means under, and therm, which means heat. And I'm going to go over here to the root tree for sub. So some of these are really great examples of words that use the root sub. For example, if something were to subside, it means to go away, lessen, or decrease in some way. So it's kind of going away, like as if it were going under. Subordinate. A subordinate position is one that is lower or lesser in rank than another. Here again, we have that word lower. Let's look at subject. If you are subject to something, you are under its influence or control. So under the influence. Let's look at subsequent. Something that is subsequent to something else is later than or after in its time. I'm surprised they don't have the word submarine up here, meaning a submarine can go under the water. Another word that I like would be subscript. When you write something in subscript, you're writing it under. For example, in this, if we wrote like, you might have, so you might see something like that. That's subscript. Like when we write H2O, the 2 is in subscript. It's written below the H. H2O. Let's go back and look at our other root, which is the root therm. And the root therm means heat. So here we have the word thermometer, which is a thing to measure temperature or amount of heat. And here we have the word thermal, which means having to do with heat or conserving heat. A thermostat, a machine that keeps something at the same temperature. And geothermal, which is heat coming from the earth. So here are some examples of the root word therm in words to show how they mean, how they are related to heat. And finally, we have our bonus word this week, which is articulate. I included this bonus word, is one of my favorite words, and I especially included it this week because it's a good testing word. Sometimes a question might ask you to articulate, and that means to talk about, or in the case of a written response, to write about. Sometimes in class I'll ask you to articulate a response, and that means to talk. So the word articulate means to talk, or to discuss, or to say. And if we look up the word, here we could see that it means having or showing the ability to speak fluently and coherently, or used as a verb, express fluently and coherently. So in other words, express meaning to talk. So again, articulate means to talk. All right, those are your vocabulary words for this week. Thank you. I'll see you guys tomorrow.